Hey, here we are. Hello. Welcome, Magenta, one of the co-founders and CTO and CEO of the Bloom Network. Welcome, Magenta. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's nice to jam with you, Andrew.
Yeah,
Um,
likewise. So tell me about Bloom Network. What is it?
so it's a social network for people who care about the places they live. It was fully designed and built by local community organizers around the world. So it's kind of a little bit like Facebook mixed with LinkedIn, but it's all place oriented. There are local media feeds, everything's oriented around people coming together and doing things where they live. So on the ground, there are somewhere like 45 local communities that we call them local Bloom chapters. And they tend to, I think it's about 16 countries now, and they tend to be coalitions of businesses, nonprofits, mutual aid groups, and individuals. And they're working together across many projects where they live to do things like build local food systems, repair their watersheds. There's a lot of watershed experts in our network. And then what we're starting to see now, as more local blooms join in any given area or region, they're starting to form bioregional economies. And by that, I mean economies that are oriented toward, products being made in a way that's aligned with healthy natural resource flows and economic models that empower people to be well together. So a lot of Bloom Network, we started in 2008 coming out of Occupy and the Arab Spring, and seeing these systems breakdowns are just going to keep happening. So why don't we get together in person? Kind of the genesis of Bloom was people having either plant medicine experiences or other kinds of transcendental experiences through meditation, through the political moment at the time, etc. And we were really seeing how society could be different and having visions for the future. And we're like, let's just get together in person and do that together. And so when a local chapter starts out, they're typically doing, like a monthly meetup or Skillshare or like a film screening series. And then we found they gradually grow into these large scale coalitions of 10,000 plus people who are mobilizing at quite large scale. And what we're looking at with the platform is, millions of people want to be doing these kinds of things where they live, or they already are. And they tend to not be very well recognized by philanthropy because they're quite decentralized and collaborative. It's hard to vet that kind of movement based work. And then also for people who want to participate in these, it's surprisingly hard to find your local, like who's doing community gardens, who's tending to our local watershed, and this kind of thing. Just because of the way social media is, where the algorithms are designed to maximize time on platform, to sell advertising products. So the platform makes money for advertisers and execs and their investors, et cetera. And so we've really flipped the power dynamic of that on its head with Bloom. These communities tend to act like decentralized incubators, and the platform also tends to provide that role. So, when you have this connective tissue over time of people producing events, bringing people from different movements together, so that the solidarity economy people can collaborate with the permaculture people, can collaborate with the social justice folks, then you start to be able to have more resourcefulness together, peer to peer. And then the economics of the platform are designed to direct capital into those communities. So we built this regenerative economic protocol, I'll describe in a little bit, where both grants and profits are distributed to people doing this work on the ground so that you can more easily find and fund this kind of work that's happening. Again, like movement based coalition building, kind of that connective tissue in between all these innovations and solutions that people have figured out for climate adaptation and really changing our global economy, as well as ultimately the governance structure to be more distributed, place based. So people who are in a position where they can care for their local ecologies and the well-being of their people are able to make decisions about where resources go, who has power, why, who has power to decide what has value, and why, and who has power to decide who has power to decide who has value. And so, yeah, as I describe the platform, I think you'll start to see the architecture that we designed together as a community to implement this. And really the core of what we were looking at together, because we initially formed through a hierarchical parent company out of New York called Evolver. And it had, it had a Me Too problem before Me Too began. It had a lot of top-down hierarchy problems that were both making it hard for it to make money, but were really interfering with the local community's communication and solidarity building. And so we thought, how do we make a global decentralized governance model for the social network that is resilient to power abuse? So we did very deep processes, both locally and collectively as a global community, around what does that look like? What boundaries do we need in place and what structure? And so the reason I gave all that context is because there are multiple layers to Bloom, because it started on the ground and then we built from there rather than the other direction. And we built for, a media network that, instead of gaming attention, keeps you on the platform long enough to find what's happening and get involved, and then come back and share what you're learning so that we can accelerate this economic transformation and this flywheel of building healthy bioregional economies. So there's the media, economic, and governance layers that are really critical to the system doing its intended purpose. There's about 30,000 people involved at the moment, is our estimate. So I could jump to kind of a platform walkthrough unless there's any specific questions about the on the ground.
I actually thought it would be interesting context just to note, since you mentioned Evolver, where the project started, where we met. So we met when I was making a film about local food systems in the San Francisco Bay Area, and you showed up at one of the shoots at some point and were around in that scene. And then also I was in the Evolver scene. And so what's really striking to me is how the work that we were doing then, both around, community building and consciousness raising, and even specifically food systems and media and all these things have evolved into this very interesting platform that you're just about to walk us through. But I think what's really unique about it, from what I know, is that it, as you said, it grew out of what the needs of the community were, rather than, oh, let's make a platform for community organizing. It was actually from the needs of the community. So yeah, I'm really interested to hear some of the backstory about it and the evolution of it. But I did have one question before you get into the platform itself. Can you give me maybe a couple examples of how, like specific examples of how people are using it now that are maybe especially unique, or like what is the special sauce that is in this that's different from other things that we might be able to sense a little bit more in a couple examples? And then we can take a look at the platform.
Yeah. One of the main things is sharing knowledge across places. So, for example, we have a lot of agroforestry and agroforestry business experts in our network. So, both in the context of building community food forests, so you have local food sovereignty, but also all the infrastructure from there, right? Like how to build and run a farmer's market, whether you're working with local campesinos or you're in a more urban area. How do you change local food policy to be more friendly to local food businesses? How do you increase local market uptake of local food? And then all the way up to owning our own export, distribution, and supply chains. So, for example, the Ugandan Bloom chapter has 5,000 farmers across multiple co-ops, and they co-own their own export and fulfillment center in Germany and in the US for exports. And then that is available to all members in our network. And so everything from the very grassroots food movement mobilization on up to, removing middlemen from the supply chain so that you increase the percentage of income to farmers, that is all kind of information that people are sharing through the network. And then, for example, we just had a local chapter join in South Africa, in Cape Town, particularly what they call the Deep South. And there's a lot of problems with trash in the street, just like not much government infrastructure. And so they joined Bloom. They have a good recycling program and incentivization structure for that to help or make their streets cleaner and help people feel like they're happier in the places they live and that they have control over their environment. And then they joined Bloom because, they want to start implementing community gardens and local food sovereignty and beautiful community places to be together and to build, the infrastructure for healthy communities and caring for each other on up to addressing, I think, probably violence in the region. And so they joined Bloom because they know there's so many experts in that, and we have so many templates on the platform over time that people have built for different stages of local food movement building. So I think that's one example of when a new chapter joins, then they're able to benefit from and piggyback on all the knowledge that has been built over time. And this is where you get these network and scale effects of where, starting something from scratch is really hard. And so if you have a community that's giving you moral support, that's giving you technical support, that's telling you, yes, this is the right path, here, let me help you, the work's a lot like less of a spiritual burden, kind of. It becomes more fun, and you're just more empowered to go farther faster together. So I think that's a really good intervention point, and we do that both with the platform and then with the economic incentivization. Did that kind of answer your question a little bit?
Totally. Yeah, that was great. And the other thing that it brought up for me, since you used the word spiritual, is that in the Evolver context where it started, there was definitely, I don't know if spiritual is the right word, but there's a consciousness orientation. And I imagine that has probably carried through. It's not just a set of tools that you've created. There's some unifying attractor, like the DNA of Bloom. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think on the level of the local community organizers, who are largely, I would say, kind of the leadership body of the network, and we do a call with each other once a month, and then asynchronously in smaller groups as well. But what comes through is, I think Trisha from Los Higuerones in Costa Rica describes it as liberation theology. So
Nice.
everyone cares about the true full freedom of humans and the non-human beings that we're here with on the planet. And I think most of those leaders are speaking from a place where they're connected to the land where they live. I almost said spirit of place, but it's more like literally the plants and soils and waters where they live. And we speak from that place. Our culture is quite oral, even with the platform, speaking from that place, connecting in that place. And because we're so intersectional across different movements, it's not like you're coming to a Bloom event. I mean, sometimes you are coming to a Bloom event to do a watershed cleanup, right? But the cultural connective tissue is this wide open expression of spirituality and belonging that we don't name. It's non-denominational. It's not any one political orientation. Very intentionally, we keep it quite open. And there just aren't places like that to be in modern society. Sometimes they're still somewhat intact in very rural and undeveloped areas, but yeah, that kind of holistic, open place connected, that's what's missing in our media architecture, right? And the business models of that is respecting and honoring place, and instead of extracting from those people and communities, doing quite the opposite. And that's just really, really meaningful to people. So people tend to, when they join Bloom, mostly never leave. We have a large percentage of our members have been with us the whole time. Sometimes people will take a break because they have kids or a big life change, but they usually come back, which is, I think, quite unusual.
Yeah, that sounds like it's really resonating. And I'm curious, what does that look like? Just maybe a few more little examples of some of the long-term members. What does their engagement look like? How often? What kind of things they're doing? I'm sure it's dependent per person, but just some examples.
Danny Ganetti, who is in another one of the local chapters in Costa Rica in Diamante Valley, she was part of the original Evolver crew before we transitioned to Bloom. She was doing a local community, intentional community just north of Seattle, and experimenting with gift economy and all these other movements that I've described. And she's been on a long arc of how do you transition the ownership and management of a project to truly be community managed, so the load isn't on one person, so the power dynamics aren't on one or too few of a person. And then in Diamante Valley, it's almost like we visited there. Several of us from the global network visited in 2022 to do the birth party of the new Bloom platform. And it was a miracle. What they have built is I have no other word for it. The level of autonomy and freedom and mutual accountability and respect and depth of ecosystem repair and restorative justice processes and they have a community association and several connected entities and places of land, and they're tending to common spaces, and it's just the thoroughness. And they're also in very deep connection with the Boruca, who's are the indigenous peoples whose territories they live in, and then also the Bribri, who are much farther north. And then as we're starting to fill in local Bloom communities between there and Osa Peninsula, which is a little bit farther south, and all the way up into San Jose, they're actually doing watershed mapping and management autonomously because the government isn't really doing much of that. So they're mapping it, they're monitoring, they're identifying, what do we need to do to take care of this? How do we talk with farmers who might be maybe putting too much nitrogen into those flows, or any other things that are getting into the waterways? Where do we need to repair where things have been deforested and replant plants to hold the soil together, while empowering indigenous cultures to be well and have what they need and their leadership heard and respected and so forth. So that's Danny Bell. That's just like one person, right? And they're like, our network is like full of people like that.
Thank you. That's great context for how people are actually using it. I'm also very curious about the evolution of it. Like, we didn't think that anybody would be interested in this, but it was the most popular feature. Or we thought people would really want this, but nobody cared. So I'm curious about that too, because you have such a long history of developing it and working directly with people who are using it. I'm curious about that stuff. So feel free to get into the weeds and nerd out with us. So don't be afraid.
All right. So let me show you the landing page first, which just kind of introduces people to what's going on here.
Wait, go a little slower.
Okay.
You've seen it before, but I haven't seen it. Actually, I haven't seen it since you redid it. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, Tola Garcia designed this. A lot of people join Bloom as volunteers because they're transitioning out of corporate world into running their own agency, or they're doing a career transition. And so they're like, I'm going to build my portfolio with a fucking cool project that is values aligned with me. So that's worked really well for us for finding volunteers. So we're hoping to really grow that program. We actually call it Bloomers Without Borders. Because again, there's
nice.
A lot of people who want to contribute to either local or global stuff that they care about, but it's just so hard to find an aligned project. So I'll show you some more infrastructure we have in here to help those kinds of people too. But that's cool. Yeah, that's how we hope to help, the grassroots layer connect with the corporate layer, connect with societal transformation ultimately.
Nice.
So there's a little preview of the social network. And if you click here, you'll see the whole global feed. There's probably about 1,000 posts in here at this point of people documenting what they're doing on the ground and how.
Nice. So it's very practical kind of social network feed. It's not like fluff.
Yeah. You can post creative stuff in there as well, but people tend to be pretty profound when they do it. You can explore a few local Bloom chapters. There's a whole map of them I'll show you in a bit. And then we have some guest blogger posts as well, people who aren't necessarily local chapters, but they're doing really important aligned work. Like I'm obsessed with this mycelium surfboard that Andy made here.
Yeah, I want to know more about that.
Latest videos from the network. You can learn here about that coffee cooperative that I described and how they're teaching people across Africa how to do permaculture agroforestry. Cool. There's a really good highlight here from the Brazilian chapter in Rio about their social currency and how they use it to increase local food access and build social connective tissue between people living in the favelas and then people who are doing farms kind of outside the city. We actually made a documentary of when we visited Diamante Bridge Collective.
Cool.
See what I was describing there about, holy shit, they have all this set up. And yeah, just some entry points to get in. That's the landing.
What are the entry points? Can we see the entry points just?
Yeah. So a lot of people here are, they come to Bloom because they want to find their people. They want to find a project or maybe start a project and find who to start it with. Or, you want to contribute your skill sets, what's going on in an area I care about that I can contribute to. Maybe you want to start a project where you live and, you don't necessarily need a lot to get started. We'll help you with that. We have a little toolkit to help people start with a meetup series or something or a hands-on project. And then also people can join Bloom as an entrepreneur. That is increasingly common. So, for example, there's a person in our network who has a ocean protecting product. So they have this innovation to potentially disrupt a massive amount of waste in the cosmetics industry. And then other entrepreneurs like that are starting to join Bloom because you have like a built-in customer network, basically, that's values aligned, that already understands why your product is important and are actively looking to switch, products in their home that they're using, or practices they're doing, or services they're accessing that are in this values aligned network of people. And so we can, there are different types of support that we offer entrepreneurs for like their branding and outreach and so forth. Yeah. And so when you join as a member, I'd have to log out and back in to show you. There's this really cool portal. It like literally opens this portal door when you sign in, which is fun.
I like that. People have to actually sign up to see that.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah.
Sign up.
Go sign up.
To see the portal door. It's a really good portal door. I designed it.
Nice.
And yeah, so we found, to your question as to the evolution of the platform over time, there's a lot in here, and people were having a hard time finding their way around. So like most commonly, I'm here because I want to build an eco-village and I want to find my people to build it with. How do I find them? And so we found we needed to make them a little Zelda map to find their way around the network and ask them really simple questions about their intention for the day. So I'm here looking for people or projects to collaborate with. And then it gives you a little path to follow. I'll actually show you one of these right now before going more in depth because it's really awesome. And so here you can search. So say I want to search for permaculture. And maybe I'm actually an investor, so I can search by stage or capital type, entity type. There's filters on here. And what it will do is it'll look at your profile, at your gifts and needs, and as well as your intention and your skills, what you're trying to do. And it will weight these results according to what the system best understands would support what your goal is in Bloom. And so you can click into these and see a little bit of information about each project. So that's one of the, I think, most useful features in Bloom. This is new. So if you search for permaculture, it'll also pull up agroforestry. You don't have to like exactly say the exact same thing that someone put in there. So I want to connect with people near me. I can go to the local page, which I'll show you probably next. I can go to the local member directory, see who's doing what. Or I'm here to grow or build something I'm working on. Oh, there's a resources hub. This has like 50 plus resources from our 20 years of research and development across the planet to help you grow your project at every stage. Oh, I want to connect with people who are working in the same topic area as I am. For example, like products or projects related to the ocean or water health. Or I'm here to express myself. I want to share knowledge. I want to share my deep philosophical thoughts. So I can write a blog post or chat, or again, visit those topic hubs so I can coordinate with people on a specific topic that I'm passionate about right now. So
nice.
I'll ping you over to the local map, to my local Bloom chapter, which I have set as the Northeast right now. Sometimes they're smaller scale. This is a bioregional scale chapter and quite a large bioregion. But here, I can click in and see what projects are doing what. You can see the impact happening in this region. And then I can see what's happening near me, what projects are going on, what are people doing near me, learn about and explore my region. And so each local chapter has a local-based media feed like this. So we show you the regenerative economy map, so you can find who's doing what near you, and then get involved in projects that seem interesting to you as a discovery mechanism, because it's hard on mainstream networks to be able to search and find what's happening near me that is also values aligned. What to show you next?
Well, I'm looking up at the top there. So it's like media, members, local chat, voting. It sounds interesting. Teams. I mean, any of this, yeah, voting. But I see you on voting.
Yeah, let me go to the global view. So members can vote, propose and vote on things. By default, it's preference signaling. Specifically, we made it that way because local chapters have so many offline governance practices that it's hard to make it formal online voting. These are all for the global network, but then there's across the website, you'll see this global local toggle. So you can look at the local view or the global view. Yeah, so people can make a proposal. Like, we needed more multimedia options in our post editor because people wanted to be able to easily pop in Instagram links or other links, like a video link, and now it just automatically, kind of like Notion, you pop in the link and the preview of it will appear. And then basically you vote on a scale of 1 to 5 stars how much you support this proposal. So if I wasn't very into it, but like it seems kind of useful, I would maybe give it 2 stars. And you can see in the rank will show if there's like consensus or agreement. I don't think any of these have polarity, but it will show you like, okay, this would need some more development before we would be able to implement it.
Yeah, you said there's a lot of kind of offline conversation and other voting mechanisms. So I'm curious, yeah, are people actually, how much are people engaging in this part versus just you find doing it offline?
Oh, it's a combination. Yeah, it kind of goes between. And this speaks to the like how much of Bloom's culture is oral as well. A lot of the proposals get fleshed out in our monthly local leadership call with the local leaders around the world. And people will suggest like the voice recorder app that we made. It's a mobile voice recorder app because people were having trouble with, okay, a lot of members in our community just aren't online. They don't even have digital devices, and or they're completely illiterate, which is surprisingly common in some of the very rural local Bloom chapters in different countries. But we really want their leadership voices to be heard and recognized and valued. So the solution that came out of that was, let's make a voice recorder app so you can record them even offline onto your smartphone and then embed that into your posts so people can hear the voices in your community. So that's one that happened entirely through that like social process. Whereas sometimes people will post something here in writing first for discussion and fleshing out the details, so forth. Oh, here's the map where you can see all the local chapters. You can spin the globe around, which is fun.
Fun.
And then yeah, you can jump off to them. They're
Okay,
organized by continent.
Wow. It's amazing how global it is. It seems probably quite unique in that way as well.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. It just keeps happening. I don't even know how people find us because we're just at the outset of starting to like market this and let people know we exist. The Turkey one is really interesting. They share a lot of really incredible information about their methods helping farmers switch from cotton to hemp, which is much more water appropriate for their region, or helping them shift to regenerative cotton. So they're intercropping, using less pesticides, using less water, etc. Oh man, they have a store. They have a storefront in Istanbul. They had an art event there recently with art on canvas, a hemp canvas. So this is all like hemp canvas made from their farms. They have like a network of very large farms across Turkey. And so they had a really awesome DJ come and they shared it, and they do workshops in their storefront. So it's an introduction to all things hemp and, like making things with plant essential oils and all kinds, like a really good community center, which is pretty common in Bloom, like people building physical community centers, sometimes literally. It's a common thing for Blooms to build their own schools, like with cob and bamboo, design their own Waldorf school programs. The Ugandan chapter, actually, it took them 20 years, but they got permaculture implemented throughout the entire Ugandan school system. I think they've taught 100,000 kids so far. So the kids they learn permaculture gardening in school. They go back to their house and teach their family how to do it. And then they have local, fresh, healthy, organic food to eat at home. And then also they learn to grow coffee in the school. They also teach them entrepreneurship combined with permaculture, so that when they get out of school, they have an economic opportunity they can explore. But the coffee that's grown in the schools is sold through the co-op, and the profits go back to the school. So that kind of like community integrated education is just really fascinating to see that happen. And I think, healthy futures for kids and different ways to approach schooling is, I think, the most important thing to a lot of members in our network, which is kind of an interesting thing to have surfaced recently. So there are multiple types of posts in Bloom, like a general creative post, an action report, which is maybe now is a good time to kind of go into the economic layer. So basically, we financially incentivize people to post about the community actions they're doing on the ground for commons care. And then, so they share a little bit They share what project it's from, some information about their goals, a good photo that verifies that the action happened. And then we kind of give them some question prompts to get them to write a good and thorough answer that makes sense to someone who's outside of their community, so they understand what we did, why we did it, what we learned, what we did that you can take away and implement in your local place. What are some next steps, or what kind of support from the network would be helpful to you? And this impacts tracking interface is aligned with the Common Approach to Impact Standards, I think is what it's called. So it basically means we have many integrations with other platforms and funding networks, and we want to make sure the way we're documenting people's impact is compatible with all those other frameworks. And so this means they don't have to put their report in like 5 different funders they have to report to. They do it once on Bloom, we push it to those other networks, which saves a lot of time. They can also pick, one of the options is to use the 8 forms of capital. Let me make this a little bigger, because this is language that makes sense to our communities. You know, these are grassroots folks. They're not people who have like academic degrees in data science or nonprofit management. And so this is really meant to be kind of lightweight. So local chapters who aren't able to robustly report impacts, it's not overwhelming for them. It's pretty condensed visually. And it's kind of a middle ground between some of the chapters who need a lot beefier impact reporting and to be consistent over time. And optionally, they can share their needs. It's not like we need money, like everyone needs money, but that doesn't get you money. You say what you need money for, right? And to get at the heart of what they need money for, we have kind of these root categories that, again, speak to local communities in a way that they use as language they understand. So we need more participation, and that might, you know, like we need money to be able to pay people's time to, or, you know, to cover babysitting during an event so that people can spend the time learning what they need to learn to improve their community, etc. So that's the, yeah, people can also post events or a how-to template. So there's a bunch of those in this network. A lot of them are from Long Beach Fresh, which is a local food system network in Long Beach, California. They have templates in here on how to start a community garden. A lot of cities have abandoned lots, and there's a pretty like straightforward permitting process to get permission to grow on those in the meantime. How to start a local CSA, how to start a local farmers market, these kinds of things. So that's posting. And then that's all connected with the Flow Exchange, actually. After they publish their post, they get this screen that is a bounty claim form that's connected to the Ethereum blockchain. And they share how many hours each community member participated. And then it'll auto-calculate. We send them 30 flow, which stands for flowers, per hour. That's our community currency or our reputation currency. And then it also sends their local Bloom chapter 1.2 times that total amount. And then what happens is at the end of each quarter, we have a grants pool, and eventually cooperative profits get distributed proportional to flow earned, with a little bit of normalization. So a few very active chapters or people don't get like most of the funds and everyone else very little. So, you know, we're incentivizing people to share knowledge, to make their work visible, to share it in a language that the outside world can understand, and start to bridge that gap where philanthropy is either like defanging social movements and the decentralized way they work best in the holistic, integrated way, rather than we're going to fund this specific like water action project and not any of the community infrastructure that like supports it happening and having, you know, permanent sustainability. And then what people can do
Actually, before you go on, I just want to double click on that for a moment, because the way that you spoke to that, it sounded like somebody who's been in the weeds for a long time. But like that seems like a lot of hard-earned wisdom that, yeah. So I'm curious to just double click on that and hear a little bit more about what you've learned or seen in that department.
Yeah, so if you're just inserting capital into a very specific intervention that has very specific outcomes and you're funding only that, you're going to get that, but it's not like once the funding's not there, you're not going to get it again. Whereas these communities have so much resourcefulness of people, relationships, really of 8 forms of capital, right? Like they have physical capital of many kinds of assets. They have intellectual capital across many people, and many people who wouldn't directly be involved in that one specific intervention that the grant is for. But because those people are building relationships with each other, and with the assistance of Bloom, they're better networked with each other and have incentivization to even better coordinate with each other and regionally coordinate. Then when you're inserting capital into that system, ideally through retroactive funding, like the work's already been done, you pay for that, and then they can use those funds to do the next thing, is when you start to flip the dynamic to communities who are on the ground understand best what interventions are going to move the needle forward for them and what underlying relationships and programs are going to help with the longevity of whatever solution was funded. And so it really changes that power dynamic so that you have connectivity and longevity over time and really catalyze the robust community ownership, community sovereignty, community power dynamics that enable, you just put money into that one intervention, but now because you put it with acknowledging the things around it, and now you're able to, people then use those funds to like flow forward the next things that need to happen. Like, I'm good. I got $2,000 for this. I'm actually good right now. I'm going to give that to a community organizer, or I'm going to invest that in this business so that this social enterprise that's going to lift up all these other people economically in my community is now resourced. And it's a very different model of doing it. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, totally. I hear like funding connective tissue and infrastructure and flowing forward the resources.
Yeah, well, one more important thing to say is like it's really clear to me from myself having been a community organizer and talking with them all over the world. And this is actually why I dropped everything and focused on solving this problem in Bloom, because the amount of people that kind of community organizer role affects and the amount of impact their community is able to have from that person doing that labor of connecting the dots so that you have more interconnected community resourcefulness is like 100 to 1,000 times bigger impact than most of the like targeted, we're going to fund this one specific program or outcome kind of things. But that labor is invisible. It's hard to fund that kind of labor. It touches many organizations at once. You can't, like, it's centralized finance incompatible. But if we're able to fund that role and keep those people from burning out, these are the people who are going to uplift their communities at very large scale very quickly, because they're like super networkers is what I call them. It's just surprising to me how seldomly funded that role is. Like, I understand why structurally, but it's just such a powerful intervention point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so does the Flow Exchange support that, or how does that?
Yeah, so the Flow Exchange is based on, we've been experimenting with alternative economies throughout the history of Bloom Network. Gift economies, time banking, local community paper currencies, and recently blockchain. And so basically I drew this big map on the floor of like, okay, I'm pretty sure the people in our network can, like, they have what they need. They just can't access it from each other because at the moment they're all cash poor. Like, we're working on bringing in people who are not cash poor into the network, so that is less isolated. But I drew on one column all of the, like, this is what people have to offer, and this is what people need. And I drew little connecting lines, and I'm like, yep, they have it all here, they just can't access it. And so in the meantime, while we're directing capital into this different power system, we are able to exchange value with each other. This is based on the model that's working in the Rio de Janeiro Bloom, where people will do things like offer Spanish lessons or guitar lessons or some kind of service like massage or local food baskets. And then when they do local actions like participate in a watershed cleanup or support a Black-owned business, they have their own set of rules for what activities you can earn their community currency for. Like Flow, you can't purchase Flow with money. You only get it by contributing to local commons care actions. And then you can see what needs are there in the network. So if someone needs a wood stove, oh, I happen to have one that's just been sitting here, so I'll make an offer and make that available for them. And it's a way for us to discover what people need and then support each other peer to peer. Say I participated in a beach cleanup, I have 300 flow. I really need a massage. No way in hell could I afford one. Oh, but look, here on the Flow Exchange, someone's offering massage. I'm going to give them my flow. I'll get that massage. And then later, as I build economic power and we build the connective tissue to have more local social enterprises, then next time, I'm going to do business with that person who I met through the Flow Exchange instead of looking on Google for a massage therapist. Or when I need to refer someone, I'm going to refer them to someone who I know is like in this network and on the same goal of values aligned bioregional economies, community well-being, that kind of thing. So that's the Flow Exchange.
And just to be clear, that's all happening in Flow tokens. There's no other.
Yeah, I'm sure over time, as local chapters form their own local currencies, we will add, it's like pretty trivial to just add that in here. But yeah, this is all in Flow. And then the person who ends up with the flow at the end of the year would then get the cooperative dividend. So it does end up being worth, it's kind of like backed by the economic value of the co-op. So that's how things are kind of like interconnected for us to build value together and start to unplug from the extractive media systems, basically.
Interesting. Yeah, I might want to get into that a little bit more, but I think let's keep going for now because it's an interesting rabbit hole. But let's keep surfing a little bit.
Let me do some like higher level walkthroughs. So we have topic hubs now. We do live events on these to bring together entrepreneurs and researchers and action doers. So this one is the Oceans and Water Hub. I'm working on the digital magazine now after we had our first live event to feature the people and projects and artists and businesses that we discovered through that. So this is a way to start. This is the beginning of our mobilization infrastructure for global scale implementation. Because we have so many knowledge keepers in our network, then between that local map, our system, understanding who has what skill set and is interested in contributing to what, we can start to identify, okay, this one intervention around watershed care can be implemented across the global network. Let's put some grant funds into that, encourage people to do that. And then we suddenly have millions of people implementing that solution in a local decentralized way that would completely not be possible with a centralized development approach.
It's really beautiful too. I just keep admiring the design. Really nicely done.
Thanks. Yeah, most of us are creatives and artists. This is that resource library. So, how to start a crop swap. This is a compendium of different local climate adaptation techniques that can be implemented quite easily by any community around the world. Some templates on setting up a farmland commons, community-owned solar, tips for sustainable leadership so that, if one leader leaves, you're not in the lurch. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's a comprehensive FAQ to help you find your way around, understand the economic protocol, all that stuff. Well, yeah, I haven't shown you the members directory yet. It's very cute. So this is where you can surf members and see what their offers and needs are. So if you're looking for something, again, you can toggle local, global. So if I need something that's quite local, I can see like who can help me with that locally. And then you can click into someone's profile and learn about them. Oh yeah, I built a Notion clone in here because why pay Notion $10 a month? So we needed this for our volunteer teams. So this helps us coordinate with Kanbans and so forth. We have
nice.
Yeah, six volunteer teams, each with usually between 1 and 3 people each.
Cool. So that's where you're doing the coordination.
Yeah,
for those teams.
And through Amazing. Like a once a week or once every 2 week meeting, basically.
Cool.
And there's chat in here. It's somewhat of a Discord clone. You have a local Bloom chat as well. There's DMs. That's the feature that I was most surprised people use really often. There's a ton of DMs happening, and I don't read them, but I don't know what they're about. So I should maybe just ask people, what are you all DMing about each other about? I like most of the things. There's a little tutorial that helps you get started. There's white papers in here, which and an about that gives you, I think this is a helpful graphic to see. So our ecosystem has at the center local Bloom chapter coalitions. And then for the economy plan to work, you need skilled contributors. You need impact entrepreneurs who are working in the kind of global systems change layer, and then systems change capital. And so over time, all of these groups should together be governing the network so that we're building the right infrastructure, so that the types of value and assets that each actor has are able to connect and potentiate the ideas and solutions and innovations that are happening across the network. It's crazy to me. I guess, I mean, we're 20 years in, so it makes sense. But I'm just shocked. Like in the white paper, I wrote this 20-year vision for bioregional supply chains. We literally have our own in-network bioregional supply chain already. Like the scale of it is just, I don't know why I thought it would take longer. And so it's really cool. We're now at the point where we're mostly focused on growth and getting more members in here and more local chapters so we can all coordinate at scale higher. This is like an impact view, so you can view by topic, or if you go up here, you can review by local chapter all the impacts that they have logged.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of, like, we just finished Bloom v3, which is that collaborate feature I showed you. We also automatically translate everything if you click another language, which has been really helpful because a lot of our members don't speak English at all. We're getting to the point where we're really at the global mobilization stage. And so there's like just more infrastructure in here. So if you're coming in, you want to find a project, you want to fund a project, you want to form a project, then you're much more able to find your people, get the resources to make it happen, have the peer support to develop it over time. And yeah, that's pretty much a full walkthrough of the network. I'm sure I'm missing things.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I think it was a great overview, and there's plenty that I would want to dig into more, and I imagine other people would as well. But tell me about, where are you at in this stage right now, and what do you need right now, or what does Bloom need right now?
Yeah, I'm actually just pulling up the roadmap so I can like thoroughly answer you. Yeah, so we're at the bottom of our roadmap right now, basically. Done with R&D, done with governance design, done with the platform, done with the economic protocol integration. Flow voting is on its way, which is where people can vote where their local reputation power of doing local actions means they have more voting weight than people who might be new to the community, for more sophisticated intelligence around local decisions. And we're just in growth phase. So some roles that we need are a video person, graphic design person. It's been hard for us to find volunteers in those areas. So people contributing on the social media team would be most helpful, I think, right now. And relationships with system change funders, either cooperative investors, which is what I meant by coming back to with the governance design. We worked with a 6-person all-female legal team from Jason Weiner in Colorado to form a limited cooperative association. Right now, all of this is running under a nonprofit, but we want to formally move out of informal peer-to-peer governance and into a formal container where the co-op is technically co-owned and governed by these local place-based communities around the world. It's just like some extra admin power to like run the annual voting cycle, to handle, the extra accounting of the legal entity and so forth. So that's where we're at, is like, wanting to transition into true cooperative ownership. So you have a platform that is really owned by not even just members, but like place-based community coalitions, which is, I think, just like such an amazing innovation. And it took us so long to figure out. And then, yeah, growing the number of people who know about Bloom, the number of people who want to start local chapters, either from scratch or they have an existing project that's values aligned, and then they want a squad mode and have access to the network intelligence that we're doing. We're promoting all the posts that people are making on the network to enhance the visibility and findability of this kind of grassroots labor. So it's sort of, we're offering marketing services. And then, people can also make a funding pool if they are really in the mindset of we fund, their funding thesis is a specific impact area. We can just make a funding pool for that. It's easy for us to tell from the data what actions were done in that area and then distribute the capital proportionally to individuals and also the local treasury, or only the local treasury if they just, want to put it into the collective. So yeah, that financial architecture is pretty flexible in that way. So growth and finance for growth specifically, like we're running this all in volunteer power right now. anyone who's worked on Bloom is like, I would love to do this as my job. And I think the potential for us bringing on extremely talented data science and marketing professionals and other kinds of development professionals, and also hiring some of the local leaders who have deep expertise around local food system implementation, local farm finance, this kinds of things. They want to work on the global scale of Bloom and help kind of export that knowledge to empowering more local food systems. And so that's one of the global scale movement mobilization things we're really well set up to catalyze. And it's kind of the other area we would love to be able to fund staff teams to, hit the ground running and implement on.
It's amazing that you've been going this long and with this big a reach on just volunteer labor. So it's time. So let's call that in. Is there a business model? How do you see? We're going to look. We're going to see.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to explain the business model. Where did I put it on here? So grants are one layer. Affiliate marketing. Actually, I didn't show you. There's the Flow Exchange, but there's also like a shop page, basically, where we link off to products and services where you can purchase their product or service on their website. So having affiliate marketing percentage of that click through is one of the things. There's also, we can do advertising on Bloom, but it's vetted to only values aligned actors. And so that's also part of the, standard media website marketing, except that it's all values aligned. And then co-investing in local businesses. So like, for example, that Ugandan crew that owns their own exports facilities, they want us to invest 10K into the German-based one to own 5% of the company so that the profits go back into this system and into the other local chapters who are doing, community-based development work. So investing in local social enterprises is the other element of it. When you sign up to join Bloom, there's a fee to join. Unless you're part of a established local Bloom chapter, then your contribution is basically labor. But we have sliding scale membership at a couple different tiers. And then again, that entrepreneur tier. So advertising, affiliate marketing, membership fees, and then grants are the different revenue streams.
Great. I would love to actually, can we look at the shop real quick? Because I love the idea of the values aligned advertising. That's something I think is really important. And I remember actually thinking about that and talking about that back in the Evolver days. So I'm really happy to know that you're doing that.
Yeah, I actually have 300 pounds of really fancy Ugandan permaculture agroforestry grown coffee in my apartment right now. Oh, sadly, I'm off of caffeine coffee right now.
Yeah, that's really ironic. That's good.
Yeah,
it's good barter material.
Basically send the wholesale price to them, and then Bloom gets what's on top of that. Yeah, here are all the member products that are in there so far. This is another part of growth phase where we need to really grow this. I'd love to hire an affiliate marketing manager who can, make sure that people have our affiliate link. And
retreat centers is a great idea.
Yeah. Too. Yeah, we should just really put some more muscle into building this out because there's a ton more businesses in our network than are represented here.
Cool. Thank you for showing that. I'm noticing that you and the other Bloomers have done a lot of the things that a lot of builders that I've talked to are also working on. So I'm curious, what would you say to other people that are doing even similar kind of network coordination, apps? How would you like to interact with other networks that are their own thing, but right now they're kind of siloed off? What do you say to those people?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've been selectively building integrations with different platforms. We wait to do that until they're at a certain phase of maturity, so we don't put work in when, they're not established enough. I pretty strongly feel like that map layer and discoverability should be cross-platform. Like I said, we also push our impact data to different platforms, but that's impact. Those are all impact-oriented platforms, not like a social network. I think there's more we could do around that collaboration matching feature. And then more we could do around marketing discovery that could use more technical development behind it. more data work, more wiring. So for a long time, I was trying to get more developers like, hey, instead of building a new piece of technology, why don't you help a community-based network that is having a heck of a hard time, because we're all women at the global leadership level. I'm queer. It's been impossible to raise capital, and so it's like, been quite frustrating seeing men have an idea and then they have a deck and then like, here's some money. But yeah, so there are a few specific areas that people could join Bloom to help develop around. Tapping into Bloom's knowledge systems. We have so much resourcefulness and network capacity of knowledge and like very, all kinds of different impact areas, economy and food building areas and that kind of thing. So that would be some of my thoughts.
And on the technical side of things, are there any challenges or upgrades or things where you're like, wow, this would really level up our game if we had this in the tech stack?
Yeah, I mean, I think the next step, and it's probably inside of our system for now, but it would be sending people notifications when there's a match with, say they have a need, and then there's someone in the network who can meet that. But then there's more sophisticated stuff we can do around that, right? Like someone comes in wanting to build a project, help them form a team. Or once we start collaborating at like larger scale, find the teams, find the people who have the knowledge to flesh out what that particular solution is. So utilizing the core of the system we built for that for more enhanced mobilization capacity would probably be the next growth thing in Bloom. I know Duke Jones is working on Identikey, which is self-sovereign ownership of identity. I've been kind of waiting for that piece before we switch Bloom over to that. And I've also been waiting for the decentralized media landscape to settle down and find like what's sticking around, what are people adopting, whether that's Nostr or App Protocol or something else, before we switch over to something like that. But again, I think this kind of content and knowledge being findable across different platforms. My friend Ven uses the phrase portals, not platforms. And that's, I think, ultimately the solution, so to speak, to like siloed platforms and communities. Obviously, who has access to what data is a privacy thing that needs careful consent. But I think that's what gets us out of the silo problem. People being able to access the resourcefulness that exists, but it's like, tied up into they can't see it currently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask about the matchmaking capacity, because when you have such a big network, it seems like there's a lot of potential matchmaking to make. So can you be reached, Magenta? How do people get in touch with you? It's the best way if somebody sees this and says, I want to help. Just go to the website, I imagine.
The best way is to give them the community email address, community@bloomnetwork.earth. And I'm one of the people monitoring that, so I will see what comes in.
Awesome. So I want to just ask if there's anything else you want to say in closing before we finish off. Anything else that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I just really hope we disrupt the FANG, or, in particular, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these horrible business models of media networks that people are using en masse. Like, it's really bad. Surveillance capitalism. You're putting so much contribution into a network that is, if you're one of these grassroots groups, it's certainly not helping you reach outside of things. It's keeping you trapped in a filter bubble. It's horribly corrosive to society. So, and like really try to get people off of these networks that are horrible for everybody. I mean, I get it. Like, they're also really good for marketing if you're using it for that, but so many people are using them from the, ultimately end up being consumer side, or you're still only reaching the tiny set of people who already know what you're doing, and it's not achieving the societal transformation that is possible when we have these more community owned, very intentionally designed networks. And like all the tech, all the governance, all the economic transformation stuff, like that all exists. There's no reason we need to be using these kinds of platforms anymore, from my perspective.
In terms of the question of like, what's the next way that media works? It's really cool to see what you have built, because I think it's the substrate that could grow this next paradigm for media. So maybe we can talk about that in our next conversation.
Yeah, I think that would be great, because I think, when we first talked and you pointed out about Edible City, like this is what was missing, was like the movement infrastructure to, okay, now you have this information, go do it.
Yeah. I actually wanted to name that when you were showing like the different like how-tos and the kind of guides that are there. It's like, oh, this is exactly what I needed or wanted for when I was doing this film about local food systems that everybody kept asking for, but I didn't have. But you've built the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think video is there's just so much we could do with video. Like I really think Bloom's highest power is going to come in where we're really shaping pop culture, where you're making short form engaging video content about this kind of thing, making them really easy to find, but it's more smartly interconnected and place based than the way you might find that kind of information on TikTok or something. And it has legs, it has a whole economic infrastructure around it, and yeah, I'm just really excited about the potential for what's going to happen in the next 20 years. And I hope we can do it fast because I think people need that to happen.
Well, let's check in again soon. I would love to know how it's going, how the growth is going, how I can help more, and also, yeah, like think like maybe the next conversation is more about the future. That'd be
Yeah,
exciting.
that would be an amazing jam.
Cool. All right, let's do it. Let's jam. Thank you for this one. All right, I'll see you in the ethers.